Tuesday, 17th, 2021 of the Humboldt County Planning Commission. And as usual, I will read the little note. In accordance with Executive Order N-29-20, the Planning Commission meeting will be held virtually. And please go to the county website under the Planning Commission and look at your options how to join us by phone or computer. And with that, I will call the meeting to order and ask you to please join me in the salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Laura, roll call, please.
Alan Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder, Noah Levy,
Here.
Mike Newman,
Here.
Peggy O'Neill,
Here.
Brian Mitchell,
Present.
Melanie McCaver.
Here.
Thank you.
Looks like we have a quorum, so we will have a meeting. Director, do we have any agenda modifications? Welcome, everybody, by the way.
We have no modifications to the agenda. We do have a series of supplementals. There are two letters that were submitted that are not project specific, but address larger issues. There is a supplemental for item number E3. There's a supplemental for item number E4, a supplemental for item E5, a supplemental for item E6, a supplemental for item E8, and a supplemental for item E10.
Right. Thank you. So with that, we will have public comment. This is the time when anybody from the public can speak on any item that is not on tonight's agenda. So let me get to my participants. Let's see. Is there any public that would like to speak on any item that is not on tonight's agenda? Not seeing any hands up. We'll give it a second. All right. Seeing no hands up or nobody commenting, I will close the public comment and come back to our first item, which is item E, consent agenda. And we'll do our usual, go through it. And
Say, Alan,
yes.
can I ask a question about those two notifications or emails that were sent to us supplemental, when we might be discussing those at all in this meeting?
I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to, so.
Well, the two supplementals that the director referred to, which is Whitethorn,
Okay.
special use permit 13188, and then an email about determining well connectivity.
And what's your question directly on it? Maybe the director.
When can we talk about those in the meeting?
I would assume when they're tied to that issue, but director.
They're not on the agenda tonight.
Okay.
I think I can respond. So these are not agendized items, obviously. The first one is really a complaint about a special permit that's been issued.
There's a lot of background there, and
The first one is the complaint about, really echoing, huh?
Can I suggest if Alan turns off his mic while John's speaking, that might fix it.
I'll give it another try. One of the things it might be is that I am sitting in a glass cage right now. You can't really see it, but there is all kinds of feedback even coming back to myself. So board meetings will be interesting. So will planning commission meetings. That being said, the first one is a complaint about a permit that we will give this to the inspections team, have them follow up and see if it's in compliance or not. And if the commission would like, we will bring a report back to you in terms of what actions have been taken to resolve the issue. The other one is really also questioning some other, another permit that was approved not by the zoning administrator, but it was approved on appeal to the Board of Supervisors. And in this particular case, actually, I think it went to the Planning Commission first before the board. But in this particular case, there was a requirement that a hydrogeologist assess the well to determine whether or not it is hydrologically connected to water that may feed surrounding springs and surface water. And as of this date, we have not been able to find a hydrogeologist who's willing to do the work for a cost that would be less than the cost of drilling a new well. And so that is still very much a work in progress. And I can bring a more formal report back on that project at the commission's pleasure also.
So on that particular one about the hydrogeologist, that was one of our requirements that a report be done. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So I would like to hear more about that as a follow-up. Did then the Board of Supervisors approve it without that? Is that what you're saying?
No, they approved it with that condition on it.
With that on it. Okay. Okay. So, all right. That's it there. But I would like to know a little bit more follow-up because that on this Shelter Cove is one of the gists about some of the approvals when we're talking about being in a populated area and the smells. And I realize that Shelter Cove is a very isolated area, so you can't readily send somebody out there within an hour, of a report or so. So sometimes those come and go. I'd like to know what we can do to make sure about things down the road here, and how that would be checked out and confirmed or denied. So down the road.
Should we put that on like an agenda?
I'll bring it back as a report on July 1st.
Okay. Thank you, Director. All right. Thank you, Mike. Okay, so now we're going to go through the consent calendar, and it's rather long, so I will I'm sorry, I had unmuted myself. So we're going to go through the consent calendar as usual. So Bloxburg Family Farms conditional use permit in the Bloxburg area. Is there anybody who wishes to have this pulled from? The director just said to let people that are on the phone use *6 if they want to pull anything. So seeing none, I will leave this on consent. Item number 2 is Villa Paradiso Ventures LLC conditional use permit in the New Harris area. Is there anybody who wishes to have this pulled? Seeing a hand pull up, this will be pulled. Okay. Item number 3 Big Sun Farms LLC conditional use permit in the New Harris area. Anybody?
This project needs to be continued.
Oh,
This is the planner.
okay. Okay, we will. You want to go ahead and pull it, Director? Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Item number 4.
It's the same situation as 3.
Yeah, so this item, I remember seeing that now that you said that. Okay, so item number 4 is going to be pulled. All right. Item number 5, Bigfoot Country Farms conditional use permit, Willow Creek area. Everybody seems to be okay with this one. Okay. Item number 6, Jackpot LLC conditional use permit in the Densmore area. Anybody have concerns with this one? Okay, everybody, so we'll leave that one on. Item number 7, Kenneth Holland special permit in the Shelter Cove area. There's a panelist, so we'll pull this one. Okay. Item number 8, AS Enterprises LLC conditional use permit in the Garberville area. Seeing none. Okay on that one. Item number 9, Lazy S Ranch conditional use permit in the Bembo area. Seeing none, we'll leave that on consent. Item number 10, Christopher Cameron conditional use permit in the Miranda area. I see a hand up, so we pull this one. All right. Item number 11. This is the zoning ordinance amendments to the commercial cannabis land use ordinance. And the director's saying we're going to continue this one to continue it to July 1st.
So we'll leave it on the consent calendar since that's how it's noticed, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, so that's all of our consent items, all 11 of them. So I would ask for a motion to, on the consent items, item number 1, item number 5, 6, 8, 9, and 9. So on those items.
So moved.
Pardon? 9
Second.
and 11. Yes, 9 and 11, the director informed me.
Right.
All right. So we have a motion, a second. Any discussion on it? All right. Laura, roll call vote, please.
Helen Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder.
The
Oh, I'm sorry, he's out. Noah Levy.
ones that were,
Oh, he is here.
I mean, not pulled, but the ones.
Yeah. Thomas is here.
Thomas is listed as a panelist now.
Yeah, I'm here. I got in late, so I'm trying to catch up. I had issues, so I'm not positive what's on and what's not. So I'll go with the commission and say yes.
Thank you. and Noah Levy,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Peggy O'Neill,
Yes.
Brian Mitchell,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver.
We're gonna have a
Yes.
motion to continue those.
Thank you, Commissioners.
No.
Thank-
Well, yeah. You need to go through those.
Right. Thank you. Motion carries. So now we're going to go through the items that were going to be continued to a future date and have a motion on those. So the first one, can we do them all? I think there was 3 of them. So we'll do them all 3 together.
Actually, are we going to, because there are 2 different dates. Number 3 and 4 is July 15th. And 11
So
is
let's-
July 1.
So let's do on the items number 3 and 4, we'll do a motion on those to move those to July 14th was the date.
Also move.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion second. Any discussion on that? All right, Laura, a roll call vote.
Alan Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Noah Levy,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Peggy O'Neill,
Yes.
Brian Mitchell,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
All right, thank you. Motion carries. So that leaves us with item number 11, which is continued to July 1st. That was part of that one. I was going to say that was the same date. So, okay. So we're through that. So now we will move on to continued public hearings and then come back to what was pulled. So under item F, continued public hearings, the first one is Humfire LLC in the Garberville area. I will take a staff report, please.
That item was actually continued to, I believe, the July 15th hearing.
Or recommended for continuance.
Oh, so staff do recommend that it be continued.
It has a date uncertain on the.
Yeah, it's shown as continued to a date uncertain on the agenda. We will re-notice it. So we're not continuing it to a date certain. Since that is shown on the agenda, you don't have to take an action on it. You can if you wish.
Do you want us to take an action on it to a date certain that you
No.
have? No.
But
Okay.
just, you can't do that.
So we won't do anything on that one. And then we will move to item number 2, which is John Mahoney special permit in the Harris area.
If I could offer, Chair Bonjo, I think we're prepared to present items 2 and 3 together since they're the same applicant and connected properties.
Okay. So with that, let's have a staff report on items number 2 and 3 together. Thank you. That's a good idea.
Chair Bongio, I do not have the credentials to share my screen.
I don't have the credentials to allow you to do that, so I'm going to have the director.
There we go. All right. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Abby Strickland. I am the assigned planner for both John Mahoney projects on the agenda tonight, applications 15244 and 16537. Here is just a map of where the parcels are located. They are located in the southeastern part of the county. They are separated by a single parcel, also owned by the applicant, and it has a cannabis permit in the process currently. So application 15244 is a special permit for new outdoor commercial cannabis cultivation. They will be using light deprivation to achieve 2 harvests annually. The water source is a well that's located on an adjacent parcel that's under the same ownership. Projected annual water usage is 185,929 gallons, or 9.30 gallons per square foot. Water storage for this parcel totals 24,000 gallons. The energy for the project is PG&E, and the applicant will process at a licensed third-party processing facility. Here is the site plan submitted by the applicant. There are 2 distinct cultivation areas, and a pond is on site for fire suppression. Application 16537 is also a special permit for 20,000 square feet of new outdoor cannabis cultivation. They will be utilizing full sun outdoor techniques, so only 1 harvest is anticipated. They do have 2 wells that are permitted in groundwater wells. 1 is located on an adjacent parcel to the north, which is also under the same ownership, and the other is located on site. 187,604 gallons of water are anticipated to be used annually, and water storage for this parcel totals 225,000 gallons. Energy is also sourced from PG&E, and processing will also occur at a licensed third-party processing facility. Here's a photo of the applicant's site plan, also 2 distinct cultivation areas, and you can see the well there. It's a blue triangle. So we did continue this hearing item from the June 3rd hearing in time to give CDFW adequate time to respond to the newly submitted information. This evening at 4:13, they did submit an email to me, which I'll read aloud because I understand you may not have seen it, and I know it's tough to read on this screen. Let me close this. The comment was submitted via email, states, "Hi, Abby. CDFW has no new comments to add to the previous comments provided during the first hearing for the Mahoney's project. I understand Scott Bauer previously stated during the hearing that critical habitat exists within 0.67 miles of the Mahoney project, illustrated below in the BIOS query dated June 16th, 2021. The habitat was previously occupied by northern spotted owl with no new survey data since 1991. Potential spotted owl habitat may exist within the project area along Pipe Creek and its unnamed tributaries, but no habitat delineation was conducted for review. CDFW continues to reiterate that the biological assessment and supplemental information provide nothing of substance to evaluate at this time in regards to special status species, potential habitat, or survey data." I've provided photos from the project site so that you can understand the topography and the vegetation. Each one of these photos represent a cultivation area. At this time, Director Ford and I are confident that the project will not impact northern spotted owl habitat, and we will continue this conversation during the public hearing. But at this time, staff do recommend that the Planning Commission adopt the resolution, finding that the Commission has considered the addendum to the final environmental impact report for the CCLUO as described by section 15164 of state CEQA guidelines, and make all of the required findings for approval of the special permits and approve the John Mahoney projects as recommended by staff, subject to the recommended conditions. And I will be available for questions.
All right. Thank you. Does any of the commissioners have questions for Abby? Go ahead, Mike Newman.
So thank you, Chair. My question that immediately comes to mind, and I didn't read some of the recommendations thoroughly on these 2, but with that parcel in between with a well that is there that we're counting on, is that being counted on for both of these projects? Number 1 question.
The well that you're speaking of will be serving one of the projects that we're talking about this evening, and also the project that's in the permitting process currently.
Okay. And is that calculated in? This is on the 16537 you're talking about, correct?
The well that is going to be serving 2 parcels is located on the center parcel between the 2 parcels we're talking about now, where there is no permitted cultivation currently, but there is an application in process. And application 15244 will be utilizing that well as well.
Oh, okay, number F2 on the summary here. So is there the calculation on the water on this current permit for 15244?
152, my apologies. 15244 only takes into account the projected annual water usage for that parcel and not the neighboring one.
So, and it's using the extra well that's on the unpermitted? Yes.
That is correct. The well located on the adjacent parcel does not have a permit for cultivation.
But it's being calculated on 15244.
Yes.
So how will that impact the projected permit coming up?
The applicant will be required to install water meters at the point of withdrawal for the well. So if we come to find that the well is not producing an adequate water supply for both projects, then the applicant will have to pursue other forms of irrigation.
For that new permit. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anybody else have questions before we go? Brian, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to address the letter from CDFW. I just would like to have staff clarify, because it appears that CDFW is either A, suggesting that we are not following the appropriate rules and regulation with regard to habitat, or B, they're trying to ask us to go above and beyond the requirements and implement a new rule. So can staff please clarify for the record what's going on here? Thank you.
Through the chair. Yeah, I would perhaps best explain it by sharing this. Well, I'll just speak to it directly, is that there's a mitigation measure in the EIR for the CCLUO. That mitigation measure identifies that where a project is within, if the project itself is within northern spotted elk habitat and within 1.3 miles of identified birds, that the project cannot be permitted. And so the issue here is that up until this point, NSO, northern spotted owl habitat, has never been identified as being an issue. We looked on our records, our database. It shows that the closest activity center that was identified in 2018 is over 2 miles away. So we were surprised by this today. This is a brand new issue. We don't recall anybody from CDFW speaking to NSO on this project. Their map does seem to indicate that there was, in 1991, I believe it was, an NSO spotting on the spotted on the property, but within the California Natural Diversity Database for the spotted owl, there are no sightings. There is no activity center identified. So we would have no reason to study for northern spotted owl with respect to this particular project, because it does not appear that there is suitable habitat. Normally suitable habitat, foraging, or I'm sorry, nesting and roosting habitat would be found in largely old growth forests. You could find foraging habitat within younger forests. But it does not appear that there is that kind of habitat here. None has been identified to this point. So there is a mitigation measure that we are actively implementing And one of the things that we are actively looking for is whether or not there's habitat. And that up until today has not been brought forth as being an issue.
Thank you. That addresses my question.
Any other panelists that have questions? I have my hand up. Then I also have concerns. I think that possibly, I'm not sure who the respondent from CDFW was, but may have this confused with another project or something, because she referred to that Scott Bauer had testified on this, and I don't believe that Scott at the previous meeting testified on this project, and I don't believe he's testified on anything for quite some time. So I'm a little confused on that. So anyhow, that's just, I'm thinking that maybe she was responding to a different project or something. I'm not sure about that. Go ahead, Abby.
So what I believe she may have been confused with is that the project was continued from the last hearing, and EPIC had submitted a letter requesting that we continue the project to give Scott Bauer adequate time to respond.
Okay. Well, that's different than what she was saying, the way I saw it. Okay, thank you. Thomas, you have your hand up.
So the email confuses me. For one, it's so late in the notice, and since I've been on the commission, it seems like CDFW is responding at like 3 p.m. or later on the day of a hearing. So I'm confused at what's going on there. But I'm trying to figure out, are they claiming that the biological assessment isn't valid, or because they're just, it's very vague the way they're email, and I feel that you can interpret it multiple ways. So I'm just confused on that aspect.
So one of the things that is confusing to us is what was being asked of them was to comment on whether or not the additional information that was provided was adequate to provide environmental clearance for this particular project. They are completely silent on that point.
Yeah. So, thank you.
Thank you, Director. Melanie, you have your hand up.
Yeah, well, actually, the director answered one of my questions just now. I was wondering why there wasn't a response to what we were more interested in. And my second question is this a very unique site in that there are a lot of standing snags or, the dead trees?
Abby, could you answer that? You've been to this site.
The site is unique in the fact that Schroeder Rock is an interesting rock form and could provide habitat to certain bird species. However, no other species were listed in the CNDDB. And I will say that CDFW's comment did reference the biological assessment, and they stated that it did not provide any substantial information to be reviewed. I know that we did continue it so that we could give CDFW time to respond to the biological assessment. And it seems as though they haven't responded, but I do know that the agent for the applicant has had a biologist since go to the site, and he is available to speak tonight if the commission would like to hear his findings.
Okay, and as for the standing dead trees, was something they raised, or?
Cliff Johnson and I did go to the site, and I think I saw, I may have identified 2 snags, but I am not a biologist and I would not pretend to be one.
All right, well, thank you. I'd like to hear what you had to say on that.
Okay. Well, after we finish our questions, we'll ask the biologist to address the commission.
All right, thank you.
Noah, you're next. Noah?
Yeah, sorry, I had had muted there. Yeah, I really just wanted to say what Abby has now said, which is that they weren't responsive to the biological assessment, but they did reference it in the email. And so my take away from that was that we have given them the chance that we needed to give them to comment. And yeah, I'm sort of ready to move on from that issue, I guess is what I'm feeling. But I also would like to hear what the agent for this project has to say. So I'll let us get through this and get to public comment.
Any other questions for staff? And if not, we will have the agent or the biologist speak to us. So if you're seeing none, if the biologist is available, I'm going to assume that it is Vanessa. Laurie, I'm not. Go ahead.
Hi, I have the biologist Troy Leopardo here.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi. My name is Troy Leopardo, and just kind of a quick recap. I've been working with spotted owl since 1988, and I was involved with the designated biologist program when the bird was first listed with California Department of Fish and Wildlife. Now, on June 11th, I went out there with botanist Kyle Ware, and what we did was an equivalent to a pre-construction survey. In addition to just looking at the project, I did a Migratory Bird Treaty Act survey of the action area, and I also did an extra check for any barrels, the badgers were probably these high grass areas sometimes are so I looked for anything of that. I didn't find anything. What I have done is I've actually assessed the project in accordance to 3.41 disturbance to or loss of special status wildlife species and habitat, which is according to the proceedings of May 8, 2018. And I could go through those, but let's just go directly to the spotted owl, because that's what I analyzed when I'm up there. And I didn't see any spotted owl habitat within a quarter mile of these projects, certainly no nesting habitat. I think it's kind of, I'm surprised at the attitude of the California Department of Fish and Wildlife in relation to owls, because they are so vague. And what surprises me is that, a bird has been listed for 30 years, and California Department of Forestry has a very tight protocol for analyzing the impacts on spotted owls. And it seems like the county is not following that. It's using its own methods. And but I did not see a spotted owl issue with these projects, and neither were the murrelet issues. So I would be willing to take questions if you have any questions. But I have long tried to find a justification why Humboldt County is so concerned about northern spotted owls, because the guidelines that the county has adopted are far beyond anything that is required for logging. And I'm still pursuing that, but I can just offer my opinion is this is not a northern spotted owl issue, this high up and this far away from any detections or suitable habitat.
Thank you very much.
Does anybody have questions for Troy? All right. Seeing none, thank you. Thank you for your input. Okay, with that, I am going to open this up to the public for public comment on this item.
Mr. Chairman, is this public comment covering both agenda items at once, or are you having two separate public comments?
I would suspect we will have two, because Director, do you have any thoughts on that? I mean,
You can take public comment on both items, but you will need to take two separate actions.
okay, so we're just going to have one public comment then, you're saying? Okay. So this will be the public comment on both items that we're looking at. So is there any public that wishes to speak on this?
Got Austin Farrell, the member of the applicant team. He's got his hand up.
Okay. So I'm not seeing any public that want to comment on it anyhow. So I'll let Austin speak in public before I close it in case anybody else wants to come on. So go ahead, Austin. And *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, commissioners. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes.
Hello, my name is Austin Theriault. I'm the lead environmental scientist representing this project. I have surveyed the entirety of the property and the project extensively over 7 months. My surveys have encompassed multiple fields of study, including biologicals, botanicals, road design, erosion control, among many other things. I've personally worked with CDFW through many phases of this project and have authored many documents that have been submitted to Fish and Wildlife. They've been reviewed and many of them have been approved. If you would like more details on that, please ask. In response to the commission meeting 2 weeks ago, we contracted Troy Leopardo, who you just heard, and we also contracted Kyle Weir, a botanist and a wetland delineator with 25 years of experience, just to make sure that there were no wetland issues with these projects. Troy made his comment. If you would like, I'll read Kyle Weir's statement towards the wetland, what he found at the location, the proposed locations. So from Kyle Weir. To whom it may concern, I visited the Schroeder Rock Ranch accompanied by ETA Humboldt consultant Austin Theriault and Vanessa Villare, wildlife biologist Troy Leopardo, and the landowner John Mahoney on June 11th, 2021. The purpose of my visit was to conduct an informal wetland determination to address concerns about wetlands in areas proposed for new cannabis cultivation. We visited all 4 proposed cultivation areas, water storage areas, and buildings related to the project. All the sites are within upland grasslands dominated by non-native grasses and other herbaceous plants. The adjacent habitat is also upland grassland or oak woodland. No hydrophytic plants, hydrophytic vegetation with rushes, sedges, or other plant characteristics of wetlands were observed within or near any of the areas we visited. There were also no indicators of hydric soils or wetland hydrology. The project will not impact wetlands or wetland setbacks. Please feel free to ask any questions if you would like. Thank you very much.
Any questions for Austin? All right. Thank you, Austin. So I'm going to ask one more time, any public that wishes to comment on this before I close the public comment. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment and bring this back to the commission. Go ahead,
I feel
Thomas.
satisfied that all of our concerns, have, I mean, everything's been satisfied in terms of our concerns from last time.
Thank you, Melody. Thomas, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
So my question involves the well as it comes, the water is coming from a parcel that is currently under another application that's being processed. I mean, it's not the issue tonight, but I could see the way the whole talks about wells and stuff like that. It could become an issue when that other project comes up. That's just throwing that out there. I don't think it has any validity on the project before us tonight, but that's just a thought that comes to mind.
Okay. Thank you, Thomas. Noah, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to briefly chime in as well. And much as Melanie said, I just wanted to acknowledge that the applicant has really gone to some lengths to try to assuage the concerns that were raised. And some of those concerns had been raised by CDFW. So I will say again, I'm sort of disappointed with their non-responsive response. But I personally feel more than confident now that the issues that were raised by those comments have been addressed by the subsequent surveys. So, yeah, I just wanted to say I'm feeling satisfied.
Okay. Anybody else have comments on this? All right. Yes. So, does anybody want to make a motion on this?
So we're going to do them one at a time, right?
Yes, we have to have a motion on each.
So for item F2, which is the record number PLN 2018-15244.
Item F3, wasn't that? Or am I mistaken?
There's F2 and F3, right?
Oh, sorry, my mistake. You're wrong. You're right. My mistake. Sorry.
Okay. So I'd like to move to adopt a resolution finding that the Planning Commission has considered the addendum to the environmental impact report for the commercial cannabis land use ordinance pursuant to section 15164 of the state CEQA guidelines and make all the required findings for approval of the special permit and approve the proposed John Mahoney project subject to recommended conditions. And that's for item F2.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
I just wanted to address Thomas's comment. That's what I was discussing at the very first of this when we were taking questions about that extra well use for the unpermitted parcel at this point coming up. So we'll address it at that point is what we'll have to take a look at.
So seeing no more discussion, I will ask Laura for the question on this one.
Alan Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Noah Levy,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Peggy O'Neill,
Yes.
Brian Mitchell,
Abstain.
Melanie McCaver.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
So it looks like the motion carries with one abstention. All right. So that takes us to item number 3, which is the John Mahoney special permit. And basically, we're just looking for another motion and second on this one. Would anybody like to do that?
I'll go ahead and move that we adopt the resolution finding that the commission has considered the addendum to the final environmental impact for the commercial cannabis land use ordinance as described by section 15164 of the state CEQA guidelines, making all the required findings for approval of the special permit and adopt the resolution and approve the proposed John Mahoney project subject to the recommended conditions. And this is with regard to assessor's parcel number 216-107-008.
No? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will ask Laura for a roll call vote, please.
Alan Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder, Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Noah Levy,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Peggy O'Neill,
Yes.
Brian Mitchell,
Abstain.
Melanie McCaver.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Once again, motion carries unanimous with one abstention. All right. Well, so now we will go to item number G, which is items pulled from the consent calendar. And the first item would be item number 2. And item number 2 was the Villa Paradiso Ventures LLC conditional use permit in the New Harris area. And take a staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair and members of the Planning Commission. The project before you tonight is the Villa Paradiso conditional use permit located at 1934 South Face Road in the New Harris area of Humboldt County. The zoning designation for this parcel is forestry recreation, and the land use designation is residential agriculture. The parcel size is just over 67 acres. So the applicant is proposing 20,228 square feet of existing outdoor cultivation. Plants are propagated in a 1,000 square foot nursery, and drying occurs on site in a 1,000 square foot facility. There's also further processing that occurs on site in a 768 square foot facility. The primary irrigation source is a 750,000 gallon rainwater catchment pond. And the applicant uses approximately 162,925 gallons of water annually, which equates to just over 8 gallons per square foot. Water is stored in the catchment pond as well as one 5,000 gallon tank. And then the source of power is a series of solar arrays with a hydroelectric system. Here's a site map showing the location of the cultivation areas in red. The rainwater catchment pond is marked with the number 3 in the corner of the parcel, and then the water storage tank is marked with the number 4. Staff have identified some conditions of approval that should apply to this project. There are several corrective actions identified in the Water Resources Protection Plan and the Lake and Stream Bed Agreement. The reporting of Tier 2 discharges, as well as stormproofing a pond, general road service, drainage treatments, and then erosion and sediment control. Other improvements include replacing undersized culverts, armoring head walls and outlets with riprap, installing dips on road surface upslopes, and installing a critical dip on a road downslope. There's also a timberland conversion evaluation report that was prepared for the project to address about 0.6 acre of unpermitted conversion. And those recommended mitigation measures have been included in the report as well. And then there are standard conditions pertaining to roads and the inadvertent discovery protocol. After analyzing all available documentation for this project, staff has found that the project is consistent with the impacts identified and adequately mitigated in the original mitigated negative declaration. And so the project as conditioned will result in no significant adverse environmental effects. Staff would recommend that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution to approve conditional use permit for Villa Paradiso to allow the continued cultivation of 20,228 square feet of outdoor cannabis cultivation, supported by findings and evidence and subject to the recommended and revised, just the recommended conditions of approval. That's an error. And I'd be happy to address any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you, Alec. Does anybody have questions for Alec?
I do.
Hey, Alec, can you stop share screen?
Yeah.
Sorry, Alan.
That's okay.
Yes.
I have a question, and it's just a general question, not so specific to this particular applicant, but what is the county's requirement for removal of a pond should the permittee decide not to continue their operations? I'm curious, do they have to put up a bond or how does that work?
Yeah, we don't require a bond, but we do would require that once cultivation stops, that all cannabis-related infrastructure be removed from the site and it be restored.
And if they fail to do that, let's say they just abandon the site, what is the recourse on the county so that that pond, wouldn't fall into disrepair and cause erosion or worse?
Well, it'd be like any other piece of property. And if there is a problem and it's an immediate hazard, the county could choose to abate through a code enforcement process, or we would work with the property owner to have the property owner fix it as the first course of action.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thomas, I see you have your hand up.
So I just wanted to piggyback on what Peggy was saying, and I just want clarification. So if a cultivator went through all their conditions of approval, permitted all their structures and ponds and stuff like that, that would be an added value. Even if they decided not to cultivate, those would be allowed structures to stay on those sites. Is that correct or incorrect?
There are some things that could be reused. A pond could be a stock pond for cattle. Greenhouses, irrigation lines, things like that. Perhaps some grading for the greenhouses would be specific to the cultivation. And so that would all need to be removed.
Okay, but there's a little background noise. If a greenhouse was permitted through ag exempt, all their greenhouses, there would be no reason for a landowner to have to remove those even if they weren't cultivating cannabis. Is that correct or incorrect?
So an ag exempt greenhouse is something that receives its exemption precisely because it's being used for legal agricultural activity. So if they were going to continue to use it for a legal commercial agricultural activity, the ag exempt structure could remain.
Okay, thank you for that.
Any other questions for staff? All right, seeing none, I will open this up to the public. It's not that easy, so there we go. So, public 2223, please. Go ahead, *6 to unmute. There you go.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes. Welcome.
This is Craig Johnson, Southern Humboldt County resident and owner of Alpenglow Farms. I'm in favor of approval of this cannabis operation. I personally have been out there, and this is by far one of the premier cannabis operations I've seen in this county. The attention to detail with solar and infrastructure and grading and polyculture. This goes well and above county expectations for permaculture design. And like I said, just an ideal model of what cannabis should be looking like here in Humboldt County. So thank you, and I hope you approve this permit this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Anybody else from public that would like to speak on this issue? All right. Oh, go ahead, Nathan Masden. Go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner Bongio, and all of the commissioners, staff for all of your work on this report, and Director Ford for your attention to detail on these things. I have little to add to Craig Johnson's comments. I was a little surprised that we got pulled from consent. We're talking about rainwater catchment, water source. We're talking about solar and hydro power source. We're talking about open air outdoor on permaculture techniques. I think this is the kind of project that Humboldt County is looking to pursue and approve, and I hope that that's the decision of the commission tonight. And if there are any additional questions, I'm ready to speak on behalf of Via Paradiso.
Thank you, Nathan. I agree with your comments. So any other public comment? The person who pulled this doesn't seem to want to speak on it. So we'll go one more time. Anybody want to speak on this? Any more public comment? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment and bring this back to the commission for discussion and a motion. So any thoughts on this one? I'm going to comment on it. I totally agree with our last speaker. This one seems to check all the boxes, and I don't say that very often, but the pond and the solar and everything, it seems to be what we've been trying to get all of our applicants to. So I see this as a very positive project. Go ahead, Noah.
I was just going to make a motion, actually. If I second your comments, Alan, and that does mean a lot coming from you. So given that I agree and I don't hear any disagreement from the commission, I move that we find that the commission has considered the addendum to the adopted mitigated negative deck for the commercial medical land use ordinance as described by section 15164 of the state secret guidelines. 2, that we make the required findings for approval of the conditional use permit for Villa Paradiso Ventures. And 3, that we approve the Villa Paradiso Ventures LLC conditional use permit as recommended by staff, subject to the recommended conditions.
I'll second that.
Thank you. You have a motion and a second. Any discussion on it? Seeing none, I would ask Laura for a roll call vote, please.
Alan Bongio,
Thomas. Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Noah Levy,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Peggy O'Neill,
Yes.
Brian Mitchell,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver.
Yes.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. It's a unanimous vote. Yes. All right. That would take us to item number 3, which is Big Sun Farms LLC conditional use permit in the new Harris area. Oh, you're right. I didn't apologize. That was continued to July 1st, I believe it was.
Should be 7.
Yeah, you're right. So, 7. Okay. Kenneth Holland, special use permit in the Shelter Cove area. Take a staff report, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair Bongio. David Mack, Harrison Associates. I am the one that pulled this. The county did receive substantial public comment on this. It is noticed to be continued to a date certain, but I wanted to advise the Planning Commission that this is a partner project to a project that was heard this morning at the zoning administrator and to the Planning Commission. And there is a third project, which was just assigned to Harris from the same applicant, and staff will be bringing all 3 of those, which are items 13188, this item 13194, and the new project 13197, which are on 3 adjacent parcels back to the Planning Commission when that newly assigned project is completed and ready for hearing.
All right. Thank you. Any questions? So, do we need to continue this to?
This is actually shown as continued on the agenda.
Right, so we don't have to do anything.
Nope.
All right. So this is continued to a date uncertain. All right.
But it was pulled.
Yeah, but it was already conditioned to continue. He pulled it so he could explain what was going on. Good. He pulled it so he could explain that he's going to bring it back as with the other two projects.
There is a hand up from somebody that may want to address the continuance. We're not obviously taking comments on the project itself.
So do you want me to accept?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Kenneth. This is public comment.
Hello.
Hi.
I don't know if you guys can see me or not, but 13197 has been discontinued as I'm not a part of that property anymore. So you have 13188 and 13194 that are still in process.
So I suspect we will find that out when it is brought back to us. So
we are scheduling those together, and we will bring them both back to the Planning Commission as soon as we can.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Thank you. So that brings us to item number 10 then. Christopher Cameron, conditional use permit in the Miranda area. Take a staff report on that.
Yes, thank you, Chair Bongio. Again, David Mack with Harrison Associates. At 4:45 this afternoon, I did receive an email from, I believe, the applicant's attorney and the new owner of the project asking for a continuance of this item to a date uncertain so they can finalize the new grant deed, and the new owner / applicant may be making some modifications to this permit and would like a chance to make those modifications before it is considered by the Planning Commission.
Would recommend the commission continue this to a date uncertain.
All right. Should we have
in the motion and a vote? Yep.
Yeah, but should we have public comment on it?
Just on the continuance.
Okay. So I'll open it for public comment if anybody wants to comment on the continuance. I don't think there's going to be, but I'm seeing none. I'll close that and bring it back. Can I get a motion to continue this to a date uncertain?
So moved.
I think Brian was the first. I'm not sure who was the second.
Mike.
Mike was the second. Any discussion on it? Seeing none, roll call vote. Laura?
Alan Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Smolder,
Yes.
Noah Levy,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Affirmative.
Peggy O'Neill,
Yes.
Brian Mitchell,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimous. That brings us to item H, adjournment. Is there anything before we get to that any commissioners or the director, anything that
Actually, I just had one brief comment, and it may be a coincidence, but I just noticed that two different projects both were asking to be continued in part so that because of inaccuracies in the agendized legal description of their property and or their project. And so I just, it may be just that happened twice in one meeting, but there have been some other times when we've run into some inconsistencies between what is in the legal agenda and the precise descriptions in the staff report. So I guess I just wanted to flag that and say I hope that those descriptions are routinely run by the applicant for their review before they're published, because that seems like it'd be a good idea to do that. That's all I got.
Thank you, Noah. And I don't think you had anything, Director, but you're good?
Good. I would just like to say thank you, Commissioner Levy. We are working at improving our process to minimize errors and mistakes. And so understand that that's not tolerable, and we're looking to correct that.
No, thanks. I understand this stuff happens, but thank you.
All right. Thank you. Well, it looks like the meeting of the 21st or 17th of July is June, I should say, is concluded, and we don't have this very often. We're getting out of here early tonight, guys. Good job. All right. So we're adjourned, and we will see you on July 1st. Everybody have a good 2 weeks.